very briefly, because no, listen, it's a long game, and I don't expect you to go through it all. I should just mention for those watching online that Peter's just beaten Hikaru Nakamura, so big game for the tournament standings. We don't need all 49 moves.
No,
just a couple of critical moments.
Well, I think first and foremost, as the old warning goes, for those of you watching at home, don't try this at home. This is not the way to play this line. And like I drifted into a position like this where Hikaru played before. I'm not criticizing this move, but maybe starting with e4 is even more problematic for black, because eventually something will get opened on the queen side, and this bishop on g7 is just so horrible. And after b4, I had the option of taking. I can play e4 here. Knight e4, knight g5, but after queen b3, the position remains very awkward for black. Like, I think I have to play knight f6, and I think I'm worse after more or less any move. I was, for instance, considering something weird like knight g5 to bring it back to f3 later. White plays bishop b2, and you know, the old Soviet school of, you know, count the number of pawn islands.
Yeah, well,
it still holds true after all these years. And
Genna was doing this,
and the structure is just so unpleasant that I will be suffering for the remainder. And I played bishop h6, which looks extremely weird, but as mentioned, White wants to play e3, e4, and at least I swapped the bishops off.
I'm going to fast forward because I want to look at this position, because suddenly...
No, but this already is a product of a miscalculation, because Hikaru felt that he is... well, and I also thought I must be close to lost maybe against precise play, frankly, because my problems are, you know, it's a position with equal material, but this knight on e7 has no moves.
Yeah, but it's going to come to c8.
Well, there's a rook there now.
Yeah,
and,
but after the trade, then...
But still, it's not really clear what my next move is. For the longest time, I thought rook f2 is almost winning by force. It looks weird, but it's important to know that if he plays d6 here, I have this saving grace of having rook c2 in this position. And if he starts with rook f2, now d6 is actually a very strong threat. So if I do something like king g7, d6 just wins on the spot. For a while, I was entertaining the idea of sacrificing this exchange, but then rook cf1 just wins. If he takes on c7, I might be able to mount some kind of defense, because the knight comes to c6 and to g4. But after rook cf1...
Peter, you're actually disappointing me, because we'd convinced ourselves that you knew exactly what you were doing.
No. I never know what I'm doing.
No.
And after rook f2, I think we agreed after the game that I have to play a6 just to stop this knight b5 fork. And once again, rook cf1 with the idea of giving mate, I'm just in time with rook c2, and queen h6 never happens. So perhaps after a6 I'm not lost yet. But after rook c2, and Hikaru told me after the game, I think he was planning to play d4. And then he spotted that in this position I have knight c6. I think this is what he meant. I mean, we had a very brief conversation after the game, and he got slightly sidetracked because, and also very important line here is f5 looks like it might be winning, but then I can take and play f6, and it looks like knight e4 is just winning on the spot. Knight takes d5 and this very nice geometrical idea of playing queen a2. But finally I can play queen f7 here.
Oh, queen d5.
Because queen d5, queen d5, queen d5. Knight f6 is not a legal move because there's this pin.
Close.
And if knight e4 doesn't win, then I'm in time to play something like king h8 or king g7 next move, and then at least, you know, I have something to look forward to.
You see, we still had faith in your position. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's not. I tend to sort of think my position is generally worse than it is. But after rook c2, queen d6, it actually is becoming a bit awkward for White, because he placed this rook on c2 here. He's now pinned. Knight b5 is no longer possible. The pawn on b4 is hanging. And if you have to make a move like rook b1, it's quite obvious that something has gone quite badly wrong, because it doesn't belong there.
Okay, so did he overlook knight f5?
I think he probably missed knight f5. Yeah, I think he thought that he can play queen f2, and if I play f5, he will just go knight b5, I guess. Knight b5, rook c2, knight d6, and maybe I can make a draw after rook f2, rook f2, rook c3. But it's clear that White will be playing for a win here, not black. But after knight f5, it's just suddenly I'm just clearly much better.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to delve into the intricacies of the endgame.
Here was maybe one turning point. I could go for this endgame, and perhaps this was slightly more precise, but I didn't really want to give him this extremely active king on e4. So I went for this position instead, and yeah, I don't know just how winning it is, but black obviously is in the driving seat here.
I mean, we were looking at
this. I think he needs to go. I think he needs to go king g3 here. for better or worse, he should not be allowing me to trade queens immediately. But after rook d4, his position remains very, very unpleasant.
Yeah, well, once we saw this position.
Yeah, and of course, here h4 is just a blunder.
This is just tremendous.
No, he needs to come closer to the d3 pawn, so that after rook d6 he has king e2 or king e3. Yeah. But I thought, it's very likely that I'm winning anyway, because I just come with my king to d5, and it's very important that rook c4 is always met by rook c6. So this rook on e4 is actually kind of stuck. It's extremely difficult for him to even find squares for it. So I will play h6 at some point to make sure no breaks ever happen on the king side. And then I will bring the king over to g5, and then somehow you should be able to convert. Yeah. But h4 rook d6, his position just collapses, and I win more material.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
So I feel once again extremely lucky. I mean, not to the extent that my game against Jan was, a very large slice of luck, but I feel that the position I had out of the opening, you generally grovel for 2 hours and perhaps not lose. But
okay, I think you're being a little bit too modest, because you saved well against Jan, and well, I think this looked like actually quite a nice victory again. Well,
I'll take it, but I remain unconvinced about the quality of my position out of the opening.
Well, the good news is, for many reasons, is that blows the position of the tournament standings wide. It blows the tournament wide open. So
it's becoming interesting now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a bunch of us on +1 now, right? And
well, let's see. Hikaru has 2 out of 3. You have 2 out of 3.
Vlad has 2 out of 3.
Yep. I don't think anyone. Does anyone have 2.5? I don't think so. I think.
And Jan is on +1 now. As well.
Yeah. So
there's like half the tournament is on +1, and anything can happen now, obviously. But yeah, fantastic. I mean, from the tournament standpoint, this is obviously a very important game. I'm just, I'll stick to my guns and say that my position was rather horrible out of the opening.
Look pretty good to me.
Okay.
The way you played. Anyway, I think we should say well done, Peter, and thanks for joining us. Brilliant. Okay, see you later. So I think we should wrap things up. Actually, we've just seen that Peter Svidler has defeated Hikaru Nakamura, so he has 2 out of 3 along with Hikaru. If we just cut to Boris Gelfand against Vladimir Kramnik, which was correctly assessed by Jan Nepomniachtchi to be a draw. The concluding moves were these, and of course this is a total draw now that the king can come back. Philidor's position. Then we move back to Yannick Pelletier against Grigory Aparin, which also ended in a draw in this position, and Jan Nepomniachtchi defeated Vishwanathan Anand. So that means there's a bunch of players on 2 out of 3. Hikaru Nakamura, Vladimir Kramnik, Jan Nepomniachtchi, and Peter Svidler, and well, if I've missed anyone out, I do apologise. So I think we're going to wrap things up for today. Thank you very much for watching online. Thanks very much to the audience here in Zurich. And do join us tomorrow for round 4, which begins at 12:30 Central European time. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye now. Thank you.